in procurement, program and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Business Zone with
Crystal. And sorry, guys, for our tardiness, but we were coming, man. It was just a little challenging today. But we are here.
We finally made it.
I was trying to get here for the kids. You know, Biz Camp gets out at 2. And this is my first time, you know, kind of navigating what the traffic looks like at that time, trying to get home on a Friday. So, you know, it's all okay, I guess.
I hear that, man.
So ran in right under the wire. So how are you, co-host?
Oh, man, I'm doing fine. Co-host. I'm just waiting for this day to be over.
I know, it's been a challenge. It's been a day, man. My kids are fantastic, though. I'm very pleased with the group that I have. And for the first time in, I don't know, since in the 12 years that I've done this camp, I have less students than Miss Rhonda does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I only literally have 10 kids. And we don't know. The next cohort probably will be more. But right at the present moment, I am the one that has and how do I have your name? Let's switch that. I'm not Gilbert.
Well, guess what? You're me today.
I'm gonna switch me over right now. I don't know how that happened, but they're great kids, and they're all excited to be entrepreneurs. And so it should be a good cohort.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, this show here today. We're going to cover some key items, guys, and you guys are going to love it. You know, we're going to cover some principles that's pretty vital to the growth and development of Black economics. And we want to use these as actual principles in growing ours in your small business. So we'll see how it works out, guys. We'll see.
Yeah, we are actually, as everyone knows, yesterday was Juneteenth, and so a couple of things that has crossed my mind in what's going on in our world right now. One of the things I do know that we as a people need to make sure that we have a plan. Because everybody else got a plan, and we need to have a plan.
Even that Project 25 is a plan. So
it's a plan. It's a plan, and so we cannot keep assuming. Well, first of all, we definitely shouldn't be assuming that somebody is looking to help us grow and be prosperous in this United States of America right now. That just ain't gonna happen. If y'all under that illusion, I am so sorry. That ain't happening. And so many things that there are so many things that are going on right now that we shouldn't even have to tell you that. You get that at this point because it's just insanely crazy out there right now. So, in being that it's Juneteenth, and Juneteenth is all about freedom. I have feedback. Juneteenth is all about freedom, and that's what we should be talking about. Because in order to have that freedom, you have to have economic freedom. And so, if you don't have economic freedom, then you're not free. I don't care what they tell you. And so, until you can make your own decisions, and people cannot stop your life from functioning, just mainly because they don't want it to. And because they're the ones that hold all the aprons or the purse strings, you got to get out. We have to get out from underneath that, man.
So it's a celebration of our freedom and what we do with that freedom. So I remember when slavery was so-called abolished back in 1865, a lot of our ancestors, they knew that they had to start a new life, a new beginning. So what did they do? They did entrepreneurship. So that was the best and only way to go, because they weren't going to go work for the man anymore, because the man is shown to be unreliable. So we're doing the same thing right now. So with Juneteenth, guys, we're celebrating a new dimension, next level, and that's really what we want to share with you guys today on this show. These principles are based on Powernomics, but we are trying to expand that into Black economics, guys. So that's really what this is all about today. And there's some key principles. If we follow those principles, we can't go wrong. So we're going to go over those today.
Exactly. And many of you may have read this book, and many of you may know Dr. Claud Anderson. And Dr. Claud Anderson, about, I want to say 12 years, he did it in 2022, I think, or it may have been earlier. He wrote a book called Powernomics, and yeah, it was much earlier because I read it years ago. And it's a national plan to empower Black America so that we can take control of our own destinies, very much like Black Wall Street did once upon emancipation from slavery. And so I don't think there's a better time to think about and do and create a plan for ourselves than right now, with everything going on in the world, and so many things are being affected. And everything comes down to, I don't care how you guys look at it, it all comes down to economics, and it comes down to capital. This country in this world is based upon capital. And those that have money have power. Those that do not have money have no power, and you are at the mercy of all the individuals and anything that they want to do to you. You have no freedom to not accept it for what it is and just be put under the tyranny of someone else. And so that just really makes no sense to me. But we can change that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today in honor of Juneteenth, is that we need to have a plan. And we don't have to create a plan. Dr. Claud Anderson created a plan many, many years ago. We just got to make it happen. And so that's
so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Nope. We do not. We do not. And I heard yesterday, I mean, it's all sort of craziness on the internet, but that man, the president, 47, made a comment yesterday to Gavin Newsom that, I have the power to terminate California from being in the United States.
That is such hogwash. She does not. See, he's trying to supersede the Constitution, man. That kind of stuff has to come through Congress. He does not have that power. That dude is delusional.
He's definitely delusional. But and then of course, Gavin's response is, "We're the fourth largest GDP in the world. Go ahead and do it."
Exactly. Yeah, let him go and do it.
So with that, I'm like, you know what? Everybody better have their own plan right now. We might have to be a nation of all Black people, because I tell you the truth, this world has just gone completely batshit crazy. That's what I'm gonna say on air, because that's what it has become. And so when I'm hearing that, it's like, what the heck are you talking about? In fact, it is my understanding, and we've all, there's been a number of conversations about California succeeding from the nation, but I don't think there's. If I read something on the Constitution recently that we actually cannot um, uh, uh, succeed from the United States the way that the
We cannot.
Constitution was built.
We cannot.
Okay. All right. So that's what I had read as well. It would be a fantastic way to go about this, but I don't think any state in the United States can do that. So I don't know where that man is coming from, but he's nuts.
You remember those external cities that's adjoined to Los Angeles were trying to do the same thing. The Valley, those cities in the Valley were trying to secede
Hmm.
from Los Angeles because they're going, we don't want to be under your guidance and leadership anymore. We can lead ourselves. And when they recognize that they don't have the budget to sustain their cities, and if they break away, they would not be an incorporated city, it will be an unincorporated city. And unincorporated cities are governed by the county, not the city themselves. So when they found that out, they go, oh, I guess we gotta stay then.
Yeah, and I
So
think
yeah,
and as a state, obviously, we'd have to have our own military. So
yeah.
there's some more things. There's actually Harvard out actually is hosting uh a free class or free class on the U.S. Um, on civics, and so you can register. If you want credit, then you pay $146 for it. But you actually can learn. They will teach you everything that you need. Some things that you don't even know about the U.S. Constitution and what that means to us. And so, I think I'm gonna take that this fall. I think it's important for us all to know what the Constitution really says and how you fight back with the tyranny with the Constitution and make sure that it's being enforced.
So here's what would happen if California secede from the United States. They would not be a state, but there would be a U.S. territory, just like Puerto Rico. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay,
But they're
okay.
still going to need the guidance, the military guidance and protection and all these other things. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that we even think about seceding, but we have autonomy, and we'll that crazy dude, man. He'll be out of office soon
you
anyway.
you 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 had a loss for words, right? It is a loss
Yeah,
for words.
words, man. Because the more I think about it, it's like I'm going down this rabbit hole. You have a crazy person doing some crazy thing, then you're just following them down that crazy hole. You know what they're saying is ridiculous, but you're trying to bring logic to it that it's just not going to work. So that's why I'm not even going to discuss that part anymore, man. That's ridiculous. None of that stuff makes sense, and none of that is feasible.
Right, exactly. So here's where we're gonna jump on into it. Gilbert, you had a great week this week.
Oh
Before
yeah,
we,
oh yes. Had a good week, just trying to bring some structure to things, building infrastructures to my business and to some of the other businesses I interact with. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching a class tomorrow morning from 9:30 to 11:30. Small Biz Pro, learning how to access and manage your back office. And I'm also going to teach these entrepreneurs how to use Small Biz Pro to find contracts, because many of them, they don't know how. So I'm going to show them, one, how to set up their back office, how to maintain their paperwork, how to include their certifications in that with a certification checklist. And then we'll also do how to find contract opportunities so they can start preparing for the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup for next year, and also for the Olympics in 2028.
that's awesome. That's really great. Well,
Yeah.
I have a great class. I just started Biz Camp, as I said earlier this week, and it's been a challenge because I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
and of course, I don't go to sleep before 1, so it's
Right.
all quite interesting. But I got through the first week. I got 2 more weeks of this cohort and 3 more of the next one. So y'all pray for me.
See,
Get
that's why when you take your vacations, man, they're well deserved.
Oh yeah, they're well deserved. Yes, they are. All right, so guys, you are tuned into the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, and we are here every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, having some riveting conversation on what is going on in this world, in our communities that affect our communities and affect us as business owners and entrepreneurs, and so. We try to cover content that is relevant to what's happening in the world, hopefully giving you some tools that you can implement in order to be able to move your businesses forward and be successful at these businesses. And so, but we encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button and become part of the Business Zone family. So you get notifications weekly when we go on air, and you have access to an archive library of our shows that have been we have been on the air as of July 8th, which is in a couple of weeks. Not 9 years, 9 years, I
Oh
think.
man, I forgot that co-host. Wow.
Yeah, 9 years we have been on the air, and so
Oh,
long time. So we have a library of shows in our library, in our archived on our YouTube channel. So go on over there, hit the subscribe button, and become part of the Business Zone family. We would truly appreciate that. All right, yeah. Well, let's get going.
yeah. Let's get into this. Now, before we do this, folks, co-host, you may want to give them that link, that QR code, so they can log into our page there on YouTube and also subscribe, and so they can obtain that information that they need. And we can even send you this information that we're going to cover today on Powernomics and Black economics as well, with the 8 principles that you're going to need when you're trying to grow your business or empower your community.
Exactly. Well, I actually just showed the QR code, so we can get going.
Okay. All righty.
All righty. So, Dr. Claud Anderson, as I said, he wrote a strategic plan a number of years ago on how for African American self empowerment through group economics, institutional control, and collective action. So that's what we're going to discuss today. If you're interested, these principles are in his book. He has a series of books, but this is a book called Powernomics, and it outlines this national plan to empower in Black America and move us forward in a self empowerment strategy through group economics. And so this is something, as the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, that's been our main focus, is to encourage everyone to support each other's businesses, Black-owned businesses, invest in our businesses, so that we can become self-supportive and we don't have to worry about what's going on in the exterior world. We just worry about what's taking place in ours. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so there are actually 8 principles, no, actually 7 principles, and then a strategy on how you go about doing that. So we're ready to go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the first principle, guys, the first principle that we want to go over right now, that every small business and entrepreneur should be thinking about, or if they're not thinking about, they should work towards that, is group economics. Number one, principle number one, group economics. And what do we mean by group economics? Well, we mean that you want to own and control the economy in which you operate. And you want to own this community, guys. So you've got folks in your community. And that's why with me, see, I operate a little differently than everybody else. I think I'm like a, different kind of person, guys. Some people say when you're different like that in some special kind of way, you're considered a savant. Maybe I'm a savant. I don't know. But I think differently. Everywhere I go, every community I go to, I want to know the population of that community. I want to know what are the key resources. How can I apply my business technology and approaches and either make the community better or expand the community or be able to share my resources so everybody can benefit. So, in group economics, you want to make sure that you own and control the economy in which your community exists. You want to encourage your African American small businesses and entrepreneurs and customers to buy from, invest in, and circulate wealth within their own business. And here's why you want to do this. And my co-host will tell you too. Here is why you want to do this, guys. We have found out through research that the dollar, the black dollar in the hands of black entrepreneurs and consumers only circulate for 6 hours, guys, 6 hours. So if you get paid, if you're an employee and you get paid at 10 in the morning, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that money that you so honorably obtain at 10 in the morning, it's going to be gone. You're going to spending it on bills. You're going to spend it on other things that is no longer controlled by your black economic power, but now it's going to be over on other groups in their areas because you're buying stuff. You're buying stuff that we don't produce, we don't manufacture, we don't sell. So you're buying from other entities, and now that's where your money is. So that's part of what the group economics is all about, guys. Keeping the money circulating longer in your community. Other groups, theirs last much longer. I believe the Jewish group, right? Theirs last what? 3 weeks?
Yeah, they're about 12 out. It stays in the community for about 12 weeks. The six it circulates 12 times. Let's put it that way. In the Asian community, it circulates about 14 times,
Right.
and in the Hispanic community, it circulates somewhere around 17 times.
Right.
Ours is 6 hours, which is really, really quite sad.
Yeah.
Um,
Really
we
bad.
have to, we are at we've been at a pivotal point, not just got there. We've been at a pivotal point in this country for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And now, as you can see, with the direction of what has taken place in America since the new election, this is your only time. This is the last time. If we continue to move like we are definitely would be an endangered species. So there is no saviors coming. There is no great white hope coming. We
The
are the
show is no
savior.
favorite co-host.
No savior. We are the savior, and we need to take care of that. So, as Gilbert said, working together to circulate our wealth, and it's more than just spending money with our black businesses. Um, what we have to also do is, if we're in a position to invest in a a business that's just starting, that has great opportunity, that is solving a problem with that in our community or in the business community period, then that is a business. And if it has that momentum, and as you sit down with the founders and CEOs of these organizations, being able to invest, even if $2,500 will go a long way And if there's five of you, there you go. That person has a nice little investment into their business. You, if you an established business owner and been in business, and if it's in the same industry, you can be a great mentor to that person to make sure that they're going to grow significantly. Our businesses can't get to a position to hire, which then is how you scale to get to that next level. They can't get there because they never get that infusion of capital that they need to make that possible. But we can do that ourselves. We can invest in, and we have a lot of young people out there creating tech businesses. And we keep saying we're not in tech. We actually are, but we need to invest in these people. We need to help them grow their business. Right now, there is a fan base, which is a social media platform created by a black man. His name is Isaac Hayes the third. He is the son of Isaac Hayes, the entertainer, and he has a platform called Fanbase, and we actually can invest in that. It's $3.99. That is not going to kill you. I invested in that platform. The minimum is $3.99. You can invest more. That's a platform. If we help it to grow, not just invest our money, but move ourselves over to that platform and get off that other platform that we spend a lot of time on. And his is kind of like a combination Facebook, Instagram, all of those. We just need him to grow. And if all of us are over there, now
Yeah.
he can grow, right?
Right.
And the investment in his company could be very beneficial. For one thing, it can help him move him to a place where he too can be a publicly traded company, and then your investment will allow you to be a shareholder. So we have to stop thinking small, and we have to start thinking much bigger. And in that process of thinking bigger, we have to be able to help each other. Other ethnicities do it without a problem. We have to get past ourselves and get over ourselves and recognize that we need each other in order to grow.
And the thing about it is, other ethnicities, they do it successfully because they prioritize group economics, because they see the value in group. Like you mentioned earlier, 2,500. If each person brings 2,500 to the table, you have 10 people. That's 25,000 right there.
Right.
You got 100. Now we're at 250K. You see what I'm saying? So though that's the kind of way we want to look at it. And from the procurement standpoint, because you guys know me, everything I do is all about procurement and government contracting. So from the procurement side, when you're doing business with contract providers like the Edisons, the gas company, subcontractor, prime contractors like Kiewit and others, contract providers like Metro, City of Los Angeles, the County of Los Angeles, they want to see small businesses come together in a group setting when they're bidding on contracts so they can operate as a group and perform the work as a group. They would rather hire groups that come together, like other small businesses, than just one small business to do a task. So keep that in mind, guys. Group economics is really, really important, and it's growing and taking off in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to be intentional about this. We just can't keep talking about this stuff. We need to be intentional. So the plan is already created. All we need to do is then um, um, just join in together and start working together and start helping each other grow. That is how we do that.
You
So
know,
the next,
you know how you talk about making it intentional, co-host. I
mm-hmm,
am making it intentional in my class that I'm teaching tomorrow morning from 9:30 to 11:30 about how to set up your back office, how to build that infrastructure, and how to go after contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make the entrepreneurs in that group. I'm gonna make them work together on contracts. So when we do find a contract, so let's say it's a construction contract. There's always other elements to a contract, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
janitorial, windows, concrete, all of that. So I want to bring together those different trades and make these entrepreneurs work together. So that's part of what I'll be promoting tomorrow morning in my class that I'm teaching. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna talk the talk, man. I'm gonna walk the walk as well. So we need to start somewhere and start doing that. So that's my start to showcasing leadership with regard to that. So yeah, tomorrow in my class, I'm gonna pair up small businesses and make them work together.
That is excellent because that is a great start. I know in my world, I have a pretty extensive network. And so when I'm meeting with my clients and I see that there's synergy between some clients that I have, and knowing what their needs are and that would help them grow, that's usually what I do. They bring them together and make sure of helping to encourage some collaboration. That is where we need to all be right now, is collaborating together.
Yeah,
And so it's working. And just those two things right there make a major change in how we have been doing business, right? We've been
yeah,
operating on a solo path. And so you encouraging that networking within the group that you're in, and then me, I do, somewhat similar as well. Is I find out what everyone's business is, and then where they can do business and how they can connect together, and then I follow up with it. Okay, did you guys actually meet with each other? I make
right.
introductions all the time, and then I follow up to make sure that they're doing things together, and so that is those are tiny baby steps, but
Oh
those
yeah,
tiny baby steps will eventually become big steps. And what we're doing is creating muscle memory. Like when you're an athlete, right? You when I play tennis, in order to make sure you get that serve right each and every time, you have to develop a muscle memory, right? So you have to keep practicing that, and so it just becomes second nature. And that's the same thing we're saying here. Let us working together become second nature. It is just what we do, right? So, and eventually it will be something that every time you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, wait, let me see if I can do this with so and so and so.
yeah,
That's the way
de-
that works.
definitely.
Okay, so the second one is vertical integration. So,
Yes,
this is controlling the whole supply chain, from production to distribution to retail, instead of just being consumers. Now we are a $2 trillion consumer base, the African American community. I think we mentioned this last week. They have annual reports that come out every year about our consumer power. And so, but we don't own the production. We don't own the distribution chains. We just go out and buy the retail. And
yeah,
so what we have to look at is changing that mindset. And instead of just being a consumer, we should be the producers. We should be the distributors. So an example of that is you own a barbershop, you own a beauty salon, you provide at the barbershop, you own the clipper company, you own the products that you're selling, and the school that's training the barbers, and the land that it is built on. You get
yeah,
all of the dollars because you own all of the parts. That is how capitalism is built. And so we can't just be the consumer. And in the beauty industry, that's an $80 billion industry.
Mm.
Gilbert knows that's one of my pet peeves, the
Oh yeah.
beauty industry, because we do the hair. We have amazing, talented hairstylists. We have a talented makeup artist, talented barbers. But what we do just the hair, and then we send them if we're adding braids on or we're doing weaves or wigs or whatever it is. We send them to the neighborhood beauty supply store, and the people in there don't look like us. So we're making them rich. They're making somewhere upwards of $2 to $5 million a year because they're applying all of the products, and then you tell them to come back to your shop, bring you the hair. You stand on your feet for 12 hours, and you might clear $500, but not really because you didn't add the 12-hour labor that you put in there. Because if you
You know,
added that labor in, you'd make no money.
a typical example of that co-host is that company called Sally's that's always out there selling hair products and all of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
They also do that infrastructure building from inside as well. They get the hair products, they get the hair itself, makeup, whatever. They put it out there too. So even though they're talking the talk, they're walking the walk too.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
we want to develop that skill and try to advance it because it's a great way for us to make that the revenue and resources that we are trying to accumulate while out there in the marketplace.
Exactly, and that's what they mean by vertical. That's what we mean, and what Dr. Anderson meant by a vertical integration. So that means you're owning all of the parts. All of the
Yeah,
parts, you have all of the control, and so no longer. And here's how we can do this, right? It's we always think it's going to cost a whole lot of money to bring in a shipment from overseas or wherever you're going to bring it from. And let's put tariff to the side right now. We're just going
right.
to operate like we're in a regular world. And in that regular world, what that means is that 4 or 5, maybe 10 hairstylists get together. You invest again. Let's go back with that $2,500 because that's easy to make in the hair industry. That is so easy. That's three. If you charge 650 or if you charge $1,000 to do a weave, and you're a professional and it's a nice you're done an excellent job, that's 2 heads and a half. That's what that is. $2,500, 2 heads and a half. 5 of you guys do that, 10 of you guys do that, and you can go to anywhere. Korea, you can go to the Malaysia, you can go pick up the hair, bring it back and purchase a whole container, and then you guys divvy it up amongst yourself. You can do the same thing with supplies. You can white paper products that are already out there. You can create your own products and you can sell those. And then when that person leaves your shop, they have got their hair done. They've bought your appliances. They bought the hair from you, and they brought the products of which they can maintain the hair until they come back. And then you can even teach classes on hair care. So now you got all 5 areas. That's what we're talking about. And the same thing can be applied to every industry that are out there. So that's what we're meaning. So Gilbert, you want the third one?
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll look at the political leverage that we all need. We cannot get too far without having access to political leverage. We got to use economics to gain political influence, and we don't want the influence to politicize us. We don't want that. So, got to use that economic power. I mean, we're $2 trillion spending power, so we should use that to our ability to say, "Hey, look at what we're spending. Pay attention to us." That type of thing. So that's a good way of looking at it. The political leverage that we could have, and we could start out by voting in local people. people in local governments. So we know people around here that can serve certain political services. So if we start out by supporting those folks and those folks don't mind being in there, then we've just got a connection to something that might be great. They may have his colleagues or her colleagues, they may have some kind of a party or event, and they're going to need our support, our interactions. So that could be ways of forming businesses through that type of thing. So,
Yeah, and that political influence is important. If we look at what has happened in our political world today, the
yeah,
reason that we're in this stranglehold that we're in is because that's exactly what the GOP did. They created a leverage and they've closed down every loophole,
yeah,
and certain entities, the very very rich, the oligarchs, they are investing in the political party that they feel they can get the most favor from, and
yeah,
that's where they're getting their block of money. Those are their super PACs. So we need to create our own super PACs. We need to start looking and helping develop policy and lobbying for legislation that best suits our communities, fighting to get funding for and capital for our business to be treated equally. And this is a prime time because the world is turned upside down right now, and everything is gotten to a place where they call race problems before we even call racial problems. So they didn't put the race thing on the table. They put the race card on the table this go round. So let's use that race card in order to help ourselves. Let's be able to control our own voting blocks, set our own agenda, and maybe own a couple of politicians to make sure that they do what is right in our community. So the next one is media and information control. So here's the thing, guys. When we decided 8 9 years ago to launch the business zone, one of the reasons was because I had just read this book, and the one thing that really struck out, all of that other stuff was fantastic, but the one thing that jumped off the pages for me
yeah,
was media and information control. The one who controls the media and that controls the narrative of their own media outlets, their publishing platforms, and their cultural production tools are the individuals that succeed. The person in the White House, number 47, right now, that's what he did. He is controlling the media. The GOP controls the media, and they are now controlling all the information that is just being distributed out on the street to form a certain thought process for the people that they need to vote for them. We as Black people are extremely talented, and that's what we need to do. So the goal should be to shape our public perception, challenge stereotypes, and promote a very positive self-image and agenda that is empowering to us as a people, and to just speak to our people, get
yeah,
us motivated. Don't worry about them. Use our platforms, our we got podcasters out here, tons of them. We have bloggers out here. We have film people and people in the industry. We have musicians. We all have a voice. Let's use that voice, but let's use that voice for us right now. It's time for us to be totally, we need to be self sufficient, and we
yeah,
need to be selfish right now. And to be selfish right now, we need to control the narrative of our own story, and we need to support our each other so that
yeah,
we can make sure that we go viral in this process. So that's what we need to do. Number 5, Gilbert.
right. So number 5 says You want to educate, you want to do education reform. So education reform, meaning that you teach um, uh, practical information on ownership, about industry leadership, and prepare the youth, just like you're doing, co-host. You're preparing those youth in entrepreneurship because, believe it or not, I know I was involved in youth entrepreneurship many years ago when I was in New York. But when I came here to California, I never saw anyone really involved in youth entrepreneurship until I met you. You know, and you've been doing an amazing job preparing these youth entrepreneurs over the years that I've known you. I mean, these kids, they're winning competition. They're learning entrepreneurship. They're building the different aspect of entrepreneurship that's going to make them outstanding. So, you know, I got to say more kudos to you and give you an applause because you and Miss Rhonda, both of you guys, have been really holding down those small, young youth entrepreneurs and preparing them for next level. So that's the kind of thing we want to do, not just for the youth, but we want to do for youth and adults as well, because that's really, really going to be what we have at the end of this day. You know, just the youth entrepreneurs there, you know, getting ready to go next level. So on the education reform, which is principle number 5 in this power economics approach, I think this is one that's really going to go far because you're educating folks. Not only are you educating them, but whatever they're learning, they're applying it in practicality. So, and they're also learning how to be leaders. You know, that's really what we want, leaders. We don't want some of what we see right now, these fake leaders out there, you know, trying to uh, muscle and dictate to people, telling them what to do. That's not how leadership works. So we want our small young entrepreneurs to understand what that is. We want to shift from the traditional assimilation focus type education. And what I mean by that is you go in a classroom, you sit down and you listen to some stuff and you try to memorize it and regurgitate it. That's how they do this. So you do those tests, you regurgitate something you memorize. No, you got to know this. And like my co host said, by muscle memory. So once you know this, you do it over and over, then it becomes muscle memory because it's a part of what you do and it's automatic. You don't even have to think about when you do it how you should do it because in your mind, in your muscle, it's just going to be automatic. It's going to flow the way it ought to flow. So we want to do that, teach the practical, the cultural aspect of relevant information that's going to really, really help not only the young people, but people in our community, guys. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to focus on community. They've, you know, as far as we're concerned, they've done a lot to try to hinder us. They try to do that redlining approach where they limit our ability to access housing, limit our ability to access funding for our small business, a line of credit. I mean, many small businesses don't even know what a line of credit is because banks are not talking about those things. They're not talking about lines of credit. They're talking about loans because they know they can make a lot more money off the entrepreneur. You know, think about it. You get a $50,000 loan. What do you think your monthly payment is going to be? It's going to be huge. It's going to be more than $1,000. And on top of that, you are you're taking out so much money out of your cash flow every month to make a payment on this loan when you could just have a line of credit where you only pay on what you use. So you get a $50,000 line of credit, you use only 10,000, then that's all you need to fund. That's all you need to pay back, you know, until the next opportunity comes up. So those are the kinds of things we got to do, guys. Education. We got to do education. So my co-host, She does bookkeeping, accounting, and forensics accounting. She teaches small businesses how to understand their finances because they don't teach us that. Not too many of us understand what balance sheet and profit and loss statements are, statement of cash flow. A lot of us don't know that. We talk about debt coverage ratio and all of those things. Entrepreneurs don't know that. So we've got to teach you guys and get you to understand those things so it becomes muscle memory. You think about the debt coverage ratio, you think about the quick ratio, the current ratio, cash flow ratio, all of those types of ratios you need to know. You need to understand it. And if you understand it when you go in front of funders, financiers, then they will respect you even more because they know you're putting out that effort to learn and to apply. Yeah. So
so very important. And I think the other thing, Gilbert, is as well. So that financial education is important. But even people being exposed to the trade is a business. If you're a
yes.
plumber, if you're an electrician, if
Yeah.
you're a carpenter, if you're a those are businesses. You just have to make sure that you're running them like a business. That
Yes.
means having a solid financial structure, your legal structure in place, your insurance is in place. Um, you are positioning yourself for growth. If you have credit issues, deal with them. Don't just
Right.
keep saying I have bad credit and it's never going to change. That is not true. Bad credit doesn't follow you any longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you can start all over again. And then you come back at it with a much more responsibility and understanding. Go learn about how and what you can do and how money works. We have a number of shows that we've talked about that. So
Yeah.
bad credit is not a ball and chain that you carry to your death. Bad
Right.
credit, it follows you for 10 years. You can file bankruptcy and you're over in 7 years.
You
And
remember, you remember we talked on a previous show about falling down or falling out, falling forward.
mm-hmm.
That's exactly what that is. So the bad credit, it doesn't really hinder you that much if you understand how to galvanize around that and make it work for you. The rich folks, they make bad credit work for them.
All the time, all the
So,
time.
so we need to understand that too. And another thing I wanted to add in terms of the education reform part of this Black economics is make sure you have an attorney on your team, guys. You want to have an attorney so that one, you're going to need an attorney for any type of legal paperwork or document that you're involved in, like a contract. You get a contract, government contract or any other type of contract, you need that attorney to read the legalese within that contract to make sure you're not signing your life away. You're signing something that is justified and honorable on both sides. When you sign a contract that benefits only the other side, that is called an unconscionable contract. That means it benefits only one party. When a contract benefits only one party, it's unconscionable. That means it's not something to your benefit. And if taken to court, the judge could throw that out because they see that it only benefits the other side. So those are things I want entrepreneurs to think about. When you're signing a contract, have an attorney review it. Make sure, and if there's certain clause in the contract that is disadvantageous to you, then that attorney can put a line through it and initial it and say, we don't agree with that part. We agree with these other parts over here, but these parts over here, no, we don't agree with. And that will make the contract whole. Do you see what I'm saying? That means you're not agreeing to these parts that holds you in a certain bad light, but we're agreeing to these other parts over here. So make sure you have an attorney, guys. And then when you do business with a bigger, larger organization, they try to bully you. They try to bully you into one signing contract, unconscionable contract. They bully you into doing things like payment terms, for example. Yeah, we know that the longest term a small business should go in terms of payment is a maximum of 30 days. Some of these bigger contract providers are telling you, hey, we're not paying you until 45 days or 60 days. That's ridiculous. That means you're funding their operation. Can't do that anymore. And having an attorney that will help you, for them to give you some guidance and some coaching and say, hey, you want to think differently or you want to look at other options. So, getting an attorney on your team, guys. And again, as part of the education reform, I want to throw this out there because my co-host and I, we see these types of entities out there every day trying to mislead entrepreneurs and telling you stuff about your business that makes no sense or it's not workable. We call them street corner consultants. Those are people who tell you, hey, walk away from your business. If it's all right, just walk away. You can't just walk away from your business like some people walk away from a marriage. You can't do that. This is a different type of thing. You've got a lot of obligations to state, to county, to cities, and municipalities. You even have accountability to your workers, your employees. You can't just walk away from them, So you got to figure things out, you plan, you strategize, and make these things work for you. So we're here to tell you guys, don't listen to those what we call street corner consultants. Listen to real consultants who understand these things like my co-host and I. And there are a few others out there like Chacha McGinnis and Rhonda. They know their stuff. They know what they're doing. They got institutional knowledge. So you want to listen to somebody who's been to the bottom of the ocean and come back and say, hey, it's deep down there.
And I think the other area, so an attorney on your team and a good CPA on your team, not your tax advisor is not the H&R Block person.
Right.
You have to hire or have on your team a CPA that understands the type of business that you do and that can give you valuable information on how to save taxes, but at the same time, pay taxes so that when it's time to acquire capital, you have a track record and a trail, and they can see that you're making money, so that you can get past that first hurdle. But you cannot do that by going to your local H&R Block and saying, hey, I don't want to pay taxes, because that's exactly what's going to happen. But at the same time, they cannot give you investment advice. They can't give you a succession and exit plan strategies. They cannot help you. They cannot give you tax strategy that can actually grow your business. Or if you're looking for a buyer for your business, your CPA actually, that's what he does for a living, right? He is providing tax information and processing taxes for clients. And when that client says, look, I'm looking for a business to buy because I need a new tax deduction, or I need this, or I need that, he's the first person that they're going to have that conversation with.
That's right.
And so if you happen to be part of he on your team, then he or she will also be looking out for you. So those are your teams that you need to, and they help educate you, because education is not always sitting in a classroom. Education can be empowerment focused.
Lifelong, man, lifelong. Every interaction you have with someone or with something in life, that's education. Even if you touch a hot stove and it burns you, that's education. You're learning, I'm not gonna touch that again.
Right, you know never to do that again, man. Even when you get burned in a deal, it's an education, because you know what led you to that being burnt in a deal. And when you do get burnt in the deal, that doesn't mean you no longer do a deal ever again in life. It just means that you do your due diligence before you sign those contracts.
And you learn how to be more strategic about it.
Right. This is how we succeed in business. Not backing off forever and saying, "Okay, that I got hurt that one time. I'm never doing that again." No, that is not That's not it. You have
Right.
to go. Why did I get hurt? Hey, Edward, why did I make that decision? Why did it turn out like this? What part of that did I play in that? Because there's always your part. Is three parts. And so, but making sure so you have a good attorney on your team. You don't have to see them all the time. Just know that they're there when you need them, and have a good CPA on your team. So as you're growing, you're not looking for these people and you're making these snap decisions. These people already are on your team, and a good financial advisor, and of course, good business coaches. That is how you succeed in business. That's all we
That's
can
right.
say for you.
That is true.
And
Let's
they will educate you. They will educate you.
We definitely do that, guys. As business coaches, you can look at a coach, a basketball coach, football coach, soccer coach, how that works. They guide, they inspire you, and they help you to realize your fullest potential. They don't do things for you. They make you do it. They ask you questions. They ask you questions so you can think about it. Oh, okay. Say, hey, have you ever thought about this? No. Well, why don't you give it a try and see how well it will help you with your game or help you to do something better? And then the more you start doing that, the more you're seeing how the coaching is really help you. Well, first of all, guys, you got to be coachable. You got to be coachable if you're going to expect the coach to help you out. I've dealt with so many entrepreneurs that's not coachable, and it's just really a waste of time for them and a waste of time for me. So, good leaders know how to lead first, and they also know how to follow. If you don't know how to follow, then you can't really lead because you don't know what a follower looks like if you've never followed. So keep that in mind, guys. When your business coaches tell you certain things, you do it. My co-hosts and I, we give you guys homework assignments. There's a reason why you get homework assignments, because the more you practice the things that we help you with, the more it becomes part of your muscle memory, and the more you're able to articulate that not only to your clients, but to contract providers or even to competitors. So keep that in mind, guys.
Exactly.
You want to look at number 6, co-host?
Yes. Build communities, not just neighborhoods. So a neighborhood is just a place you live. A community has institutions, culture, and coordinated interests that envelops the whole entire community, and you're involved in the community. You know who your neighbors are. You have not just seen on the ballot who is the political influences in your community. You know them. You've appeared at events with them. You know who your bankers are. You know who your organizations that lead in your community. So you build schools, you build businesses and banks and media and security systems that serve the entire group. The
And
one thing I see right now, Gilbert, I
yeah,
see with the terror attacks of ICE, I
yeah,
see the ones that they're going after are the most vulnerable people in this country.
yeah,
And they don't really have community, they have neighborhood.
yes. And
What
and
I
and and I think a lot of people are beginning to kind of step in a little bit to
Right.
start communitizing around them, where they form this barrier and say, hey, we don't want you in our community.
Right. Exactly. So years and years ago, when we had the riots with Rodney
Rodney
when
King, is it Rodney King?
Rodney King, right? When we had that and LA was erupting into a battleground, right?
Yeah.
And you were watching the news at that period of time in history. The news actually told you the real news, and
Yeah.
they didn't hide any. They didn't shield it. They didn't hide anything from you. But one of the things that I recognize, and I live down in this area, so I definitely could see it happening, was the Korean community, which is in the area of from, I want to say, from Olympic to up to Vermont, out to Vermont, and then up to past Wilshire. I wondered how they protected their businesses so fast.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking to a friend of mine. This also jumps back, takes us back to number 4 on the media control. The Korean network has a media network that is powerful. So as soon as they saw what was happening, because of course they border up against the black communities, right, on the Crenshaw side, they had folks on the roofs of their building. They had their uh, uh, guns with them. They had everything highly. The security systems were in place. I was like, how the heck did they gear up that fast? And so my friend, who owns a colleague of mine that owns a number of satellite networks, she says it's because they have a powerful network satellite of media systems. And when they saw trouble, they started making announcements to their community on television, on their Korean stations, and everybody went and got in place to protect their property. That's what they did. That's the
And
community.
I'm going to say two things here. I'm going to speak one from a procurement standpoint, and then the other one I'll speak from your standpoint on the recycling like dollar aspect of things. So, from a procurement standpoint, in building communities and not just neighborhoods, Guy, if you are out there in the marketplace and you see opportunities or you hear about opportunities that does not include your trade or your type of services that you provide, it does not hurt for you to tell another small business about that opportunity to build that community of entrepreneurs. It doesn't hurt. Like today, for example, I received a contract opportunity, and this, I believe, is either from Metro or the state of California, and it was for window replacement. I don't do window replacement, but my first instinct was to reach out in my database and see what entrepreneurs in my database perform window replacement services. Do you see what I'm saying? So then I send that to 2 or 3 or 4 of those. Then I'm helping to provide opportunities for them because they may have workers that they're trying to feed and pay, or family members. So it's a good idea for us to look out for other entrepreneurs, even though there's no immediate return for us, because you never know when an opportunity might get returned to you. Someone may just call you out of the blue, say, hey, Gilbert, I heard of this opportunity. Like when I got that gig in Vegas in 2017, 18, 19, I was at an event speaking, and this lady came up to me and said, hey, I know of an organization in Vegas that's looking for someone like yourself who can coach small businesses, who can teach classes. I said, really? And she said, yes. It's an organization called the Nevada Contractors Association. So I said, really? So I followed up. And next thing you know, I got the gig. So it wasn't something she could do, but then she saw me helping other businesses and she recognized, wow, this guy might be able to help those businesses too. And that contract was to prepare those contractors to build that stadium in Vegas, the Raider Stadium.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the kind. And look at that. Just by the fact that one, you were open to the opportunity because some
Yeah.
people feel that they're not open to the opportunity.
Yes.
And then secondly, the networking. And that is
Yeah.
how the community is more than the neighborhood because
Yeah.
you help each other, you empower each other. And that kind of jumps down to number seven, competing as a group, right? That you said that you
Yes.
had the
Yeah.
organization. So
Yeah.
we have multiple of organizations in our community.
Yeah.
We don't collectively work together in a sense to create a empowered where we are cycling people through this whole mega system, right?
Yeah.
We individual consultants may do that, but ultimately all of the organizations don't say, hey, let me send you over here to Vermont Slauson. Let me talk to them. Let me see if we can get you some capital.
Yeah.
I don't have a CDFI, so we're not in competition. This is a client that I've prepared, so now I need you to go over here, right? Because this is the next step.
See, that's where I see you come into this part, co-host, because you're running Recycling Black Dollars. You've got a lot of these entrepreneurs in your database that you provide some level of services to. And the way I see this working out, you guys have that program book that you put out every 6 months, I believe, and then you got that
Every year, our
database
directory.
also.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
directory, right? The
Mm-hmm.
directory, and you also have a database where contract providers like Edison and all those will reach out to you and say, "Hey, we want you to circulate this to as many of your minority businesses." So
Right.
that community and group economics part there, it works out. Having an organization like yours around that they can tap into.
Exactly, and that helps you create that group because individually, it's very challenging, very difficult. In some cases, almost damn near impossible to succeed alone.
Yeah.
Individuality doesn't help you succeed. You have to have a group to rise collectively. And so, and everyone in the group are committed to helping each other elevate and grow their businesses. And so, when you look around, if you look at any successful business, and I'm saying successful both in um, in marketing. I'm saying successful monetarily. I'm saying successful in how many years they've been in business and the number of contracts they get and how they do business versus um, transactional. They're doing actually contracted work. Those are businesses that are replicable, and those are businesses that can be scaled to uplift each other. That's what those are. You, as the sole proprietor of your little kingdom, is not going to grow big.
No. No.
You need to bring in collectively. And nowadays, there are groups that are receiving money collectively. I for the last 6 months or the last 2 months actually before I think it ended in May. But for 2 months, I was working on a subcommittee where we were reviewing applications for a collective $9 million that was distributed out to the county of Los Angeles. And so the idea was to divide that, spread that $9 million out among 26 organizations. It had to be one CBO, and the rest of them could be for-profit businesses that were going to help empower, help employ, educate, and prepare our youth for for workforce readiness. And
Yeah.
so 26 businesses actually got that opportunity.
Yeah.
We selected it. It's been announced. If you guys go over to my YouTube channel, you'll see the Catalyst a grant that came out, and if you click one of those links there, you will see the 26 businesses that were selected. So the max was 400,000, and this was for the first phase of launching a business. And then there was another grant that came right behind it for those that were post launch, post phase, launch phase. They were actually launching, and there was more money that was out there. And it's my understanding that there's another $5 million coming down the pipeline as well. But you had to collaborate with a nonprofit, a CBO, and there had to be other it could be other partners that were for profit, and that was the only way you could actually even apply for that grant. It had to be that way. And so more and more resources like that are going to be available to you, but you're not going to get it by yourself. You have to start forming your team. Gilbert has several teams that he does business with, partners that he does business with, depending on the grant, depending on the RFP that he's filling out. So build your teams, guys. Everyone creating and bringing some sort of value to the whole core of the group, and you will actually succeed faster than trying to do that by yourself.
And
Pool your
go ahead, co-host.
Pool your resources, form collaboratives, create community wealth building mechanisms within our own community. Nobody can stop us from doing that. Nobody even needs to know that we're doing it, but we need to be doing it. That's all I can say. We need to be doing this because this is imperative for our continued success and for the future of our children's success, being able to navigate in this world like we had the opportunity to do so. Right now, our children are in dire straits, man. They got far less freedom than we had. That's where they are right now. In fact, their freedom is being upsurged completely, and they will be locked in to working for the rest of their lives for minimum income for somebody else. And so that's just our goal. So I'm back over to you, Gilbert.
Yeah, so a big part of that is making sure that once you identify a target, and I'm always bringing it back to government contracting because that's where the bulk of the money is. There's over $600 billion in the federal coffers right now, just sitting on table waiting for small businesses to tap into it, but they're not tapping into it because they don't know about it, or if they do hear about it, they're afraid to tap into it because they think they don't have the muscle, they don't have the know-how, they don't have a confidence. And that's why super consultants like us are here to help you guys. We have knowledge in those areas. We're here to help you to prepare yourself to become ready. In my platform, Small Biz Pro, you get to do a contract readiness assessment, a business readiness assessment, and a loan readiness assessment. So that will get you to where you need to understand what is needed. And then the next step is to actually go through a session with you and just show you some of the things and some of the ways in which you can become better entrepreneurs. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about and we're promoting. Now, with the promotion, with the procurement, I'm launching a next level contract readiness training program in about 3 to 4 weeks, guys. And what that next level is about, everything you've learned about contract readiness and business readiness and all that, I'm going to step it up a few notches. So I'm going to show you guys how to write a proposal, how to structure a proposal template, and have that where you can use that every time you need to submit a proposal in response to an RFP. I'm going to go over all aspects, and these are winning elements I'm presenting to you guys because I use my experience and expertise from working at LA Community College District, LA Metro, and all those agencies because I was evaluating contracts and proposals for many of the bigger primes. So that same level of skill I'm bringing to the table to you guys so you can see what a winning proposal looks like and how you can start shaping yourself up. So that's one. We're going to help you with your statement of qualifications. That's something you need if you're going to submit a proposal, because a lot of what's in your statement of qualification is what's required in the proposal. So I'm going to show you guys that. And we're also going to pay attention to your back office, make sure it's set up properly. You know, your readiness in terms of your financials, what paperwork you need, what ratios you need, and I'll explain those to you, why you need it, how you should look. So all of those things will help you to develop that confidence that you can present. So when you go after opportunities, you're going to go with the intent that you're going to win, not that you're going to lose and you're just doing another exercise in submitting proposals. You're gonna go into this as I'm going to win this, and that will help to get you guys to so many other levels. And by preparing you guys in about 3 to 4 weeks, it's gonna help you to better understand what the process is for the FIFA World Cup, what the process is for the Olympics that's coming up. You know, how you can do business with other contract providers or even customers. So those are the things I wanted to put out there, guys, to let you know what's coming up as part of this um, uh, Black economics. You know, these principles that we have here, the Black economics principles that we've adopted from the Dr. Claud Anderson program. We want you guys to incorporate this in your business. And when I look at your statement of qualifications, I want to see some of that because it should be reflected in your proposals as well. So finally, we got the last part of this, of the principle. This is the last principle here in this Black economics. And I really love it because it's more of a strategic planning. So my co-host and I, we're going to go over this together with you guys. Okay.
Okay.
So co-host, tell them about the first leg of this, the eighth economic principle of economics here. So
Okay, so the 5-year national plan is, as Dr. Anderson has laid out the strategy, is acquiring land.
mhm,
Because when you are a landowner, you have voice, you have
yeah,
a seat at the table,
that's
and
right.
you get to make laws. Because you're paying property taxes, and
Hmm.
so you're not a renter. You are stabilized. You have planted yourself solidly in the ground with ownership of property. So very important. You got the
Right.
next one?
Oh, yeah. So the next one is building businesses. Building businesses. And not because you're running a business right now mean that that's where you stop. That's the only business you want. You want to build that business, develop proficiency in that business, satisfying your customers. Because remember, the whole reason why you started this business in the first place is to solve a pain or many pains in the marketplace. That's your job. So once you solve those pains and you're solving it better than anyone else or better than your competitors, then you can start branching off into other types of businesses. Like me, for example, you know, I've done all of these professional services for small businesses. I've done government contracts. I've done all of that, done the training, the coaching. So I have my eye on other businesses. You know, I'm not going to say what they are until they come to fruition, but I have my eyes on all the businesses, and these are businesses that can yield anywhere from 20 to 35%, you know, on your returns. So those are the types of things I'm looking at. Um, so building business, guys, is very crucial. Remember, you cannot get rich working for someone. You cannot get rich being an employee. You can be rich as a business owner, an entrepreneur, because you're
I
developing
agree.
assets.
Yeah, because the wealthy have multiple businesses. Some of them are in synergy with what they have. Some of them they may be providing these services and then they bring in equipment
Yeah.
and they own the equipment. So building businesses, and also I think another thing, Gilbert, under this one as well is recognizing that the current business you have
Yeah.
may or may not be still viable in the time frame that we're in today. So
Yes.
knowing how to pivot away from something that is just barely, marginally keeping the doors open to then looking at something that is really viable in the marketplace today, that is really solving problems in the marketplace, and pivoting over to that particular business and not just hanging on because you have history over here and this is your first business. Most people that have started businesses uh, sell that first business. Actually, that's what they do when they become wealthy. That's how they care. That's how they're able to finance the next business because they
Yeah.
sell the business. They they position the business for sale. Some
Yeah.
aspect of it is valuable enough for someone to be interested to buy, and
Yes.
then they sell it. As we spoke with Edward, hello Edward, if you're still there. Edward has bought an existing business that was out there. Somebody, whoever was the one that was the originator, he sold out and moved on to the next business. So it's like clothing. You don't wear the same clothing you start wearing when you were a baby. You outgrow those and you move on to some new clothes and you continue to do that. You probably wear clothes for 2 seasons, three, and then it's time for them to be moved on. So we're not saying that about 3 years max for a business, but 10, 15, 20 years and you're still making the same kind of money you were making 10, 15 years ago, that business is long overdue and should be shelved.
Right.
Just saying. So the next one is forming industrial and trade verticals. As we were saying, don't just have one aspect of an industry, have all of the components because all of those components can create revenue streams and there could be new businesses. And now you're monopolizing the effort. Look at the Zuckerberg. That's why he went. That's why the hearing committee had him because he every time there was a new tech company that popped up that he
Yeah.
felt could be competitive to him, he bought it. So he bought Facebook. He bought WhatsApp. He bought there's some other Mega. There's some other things in there that he's bought. Elon did the exact same thing. And if you
Yeah.
look around, most of those big time business owners do that. They buy multiple to create these vertical, industrial and trade verticals.
Right. And that same principle right there, that's that aspect of principle number 8 is tied into principle number 2, vertical integration, because it's the same.
Hmm.
You buy up a process, you buy up different aspects of the business, different areas in which your business must fall. Like we talked about production to distribution and retail. It's the same thing down here in item number 8, where principle number 8, where it's saying forming industrial and trade verticals. You want to see how those work together in order to bring you that result. Launching media outlets. That's what we're doing here on the Business Zone. I see someone here in our chat, Crown Jewels Agency, saying, "How do I join as a guest?" So I'm showing this person want to tap into what we do here. Now, my understanding of that, Crown Jewels, is that you probably want to be a guest on the Business Zone. So we can provide you the link so that you can tap into this and become a guest on our show so you can speak about your product and your services, how wonderful your business is. And you never know who's listening. We're broadcast all over the world right now, not so many different countries. So that could be an in for you guys. And I want you guys to think about that. Okay. Think about how you.
Exactly. So provide me with your email address and I'll send you over the QR code so you can sign up. And we also are launching another media platform to augment the Business Zone. It is going to be a weekly newsletter that's going to populate with the latest shows, with the behind the scenes and why we chose the subjects that and the topic that we are discussing, and to further on that conversation with you. In addition, we will be doing some memberships, subscriptions with that business where you actually can maybe have a 30 minutes or an hour with Gilbert and I. You pay a monthly subscription fee, and then you get us accessibility to us. So that's the first level for us, is making sure we get the information out there. Gilbert has a couple books that he's about to launch shortly. I have
Yeah.
one in the making. I actually have a couple of them as well. One is going to come out probably in the fall, which is on youth entrepreneurship, and then I have another one coming behind that on understanding financial business literacy, which is a little bit different than just taking care of your home budget. This is on a bigger scope. So that's all where you are controlling the narrative of what needs to be related to your community to help empower them. So that's what and that ties in as well with principle number 4. I think, yeah, that's number 4 in the core principles, and then this is the overall all 5 plan. So, and the next one,
So the next one is reforming education, which we went over earlier when we talked about the education reform process, where we want to teach practical, culturally and relevant education. We want to prepare youth for ownership. We want to prepare other entrepreneurs for ownership as well. Help them to become industry leaders, and that's what we want to do. We want to focus on empowerment. So it's the same philosophy here on reforming education. We want to teach you guys financial literacy, how to read your financials, how to read balance sheet, profit and loss, how to make good financial decisions. When you have a business, what are some of the things you need to do? And part of that financial literacy information education that you're getting is payment terms. When you get a contract or a deal, how do you identify payment terms? You don't want to go beyond 30 days, guys. You do not want to go beyond 30 days. As a matter of fact, if you're in professional services, you should be sending invoices to your clients. If you allow them to pay over time, you should give them invoices to be paid within 10 days. 10 days. And if they don't pay within 10 days, then you got to attach a late fee to that. Your competitors are doing it. So why not do the same thing so you can stay on top of your game? You're not here to fund or finance any project or service for any clients, okay? Because that's one of the things that kind of knock a lot of small businesses out of the competition, because they're thinking, "Oh, I don't want to ask him for money. He may not give me another contract." No, I don't
right?
care about that. If you don't
And
collect the money now, you will never get another contract. So
exactly, because you won't be able to afford it, because that'll be you only will get one time opportunity, because you need the cash flow, and you don't have the cash flow because they didn't, strung your money out. So no. And that's part of that education. And the next is the developing political clout. So all you need to do, we don't even have to say much on that one. All you need to do is pick up your phone and go to YouTube, go to TikTok, and go and read any of the crazy posts that are on Truth Social, and you understand why you need political clout. Because every time people say right now, I don't understand why we are not doing anything. Yeah, you do understand why we're not doing something, because many of you did not vote for the right person.
yeah,
Some of you voted against your best interest. And now what we have is the Democrats are in a stranglehold,
yeah,
because we allowed them to, without being involved, without having a voice, without sitting at the tables, we allowed another group of people to commandeer the election. And because they commandeered the election, now all of us are suffering. They are too suffering, but and a lot of it is lack of education. You don't understand the political space, so you feel you stay out of the political space. But what happens is the political space affects all of us. There is no staying out of it, right? And especially during the time when you are supposed to be voting, and you need to be informing family members and friends, helping people understand the full dynamic of it. In some cases, if it's family and friends, you may have to force them to hear it, because it eventually is going to affect everyone in your family. And so, the political arena is a very important arena. You have to be knowledgeable and in tune to what's happening, and don't put blinders over your eyes thinking that if I don't see it, it will go away. If it's going to go away, it's going to look like it does today, with crazy people running around, snatching people off the street like we're in the middle of the Nazi era. And we should not be in this place. So we need to be all well informed as to what happens when you give up your political clout, or you have no political clout to give up, and what happens to you once the wrong person gets into a seat of power, and what will happen, and you can no longer be going, how did we get here? You know exactly how we got here. So let's just make sure we don't get back here ever, 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 ever again. I do not believe this is not the end of America, but we got to fight to get it back. And then at that point, we cannot take it for granted that it's just sitting here, and life, we can lackadaisically go about life and just let it run on its own. We have to create checks and balances and make people accountable for their actions and how they are representing you when you go to vote. And now you understand that our ancestors, what they went through to fight for that vote, was so powerful, and many of us gave up that right to vote long time ago. So that's how we're gonna close the show, because politics is completely tied into economics.
Yeah, exactly. So to summarize all of what we just went over, guys, remember this. Powernomics and black economics, they go hand in hand, and it's about empowering black people to own and control the institutions and resources needed to become self-sufficient and competitive in America as a group, not as an individual, but as a group. Okay, just remember this. The total population of the US, about 350 million. Only 15% of those are blacks. Okay, only 15% of the 350 million. So keep that in mind. You got to galvanize, you got to build, you got to come together, obtain resources, train, educate, reform, all of those things if you want a seat at the table. We did this before, guys. We did this before back in the 1920s. We did this before in Oklahoma. We did it before in other major states and cities. We can do it again. We can become self-sufficient. We can produce our own type of resources, of our own banks, our own jets, our own medical facility, all of those things, guys.
Our whole industrial and trade vertical businesses with
Yeah,
banks and property
yeah,
and all our media outlets is not a hard task. 5 years, we could really truly make this happen, but we
yeah,
just have to come together in unity, work together, start to collaborate, and not look at each other as the victim, or the one or the threat. Look at each other as, this is my community. My community and I are taking us to the top. That's what you need to. That's how you need to look at each other.
yeah,
And we have to change this individuality thing we got going on, because it doesn't work. We have to create a protective network seal around us, where when something goes down, we ready and we're prepared. And we're not sitting here going, oh my God, twiddling our thumbs, where we gonna go, how we gonna do this, where the money, all that stuff. We don't need to be doing that anymore. we need to be way beyond all of that. So
Yeah.
with that, guys, we're going to get ready to sign off. We want to thank you for joining us. You can go back and see this over on YouTube. And I will have some other information in the description. Um, um, and that way you can get access to these 8 points in written form. And with that, we're going to say have a fantastic weekend. Be safe out there, guys. ICE is running quite rampant, and I think they sent out another 7,000, not all to the state of California, but another 7,000 military National Guards to our state. So be careful. Stay out of places that can harm you. We can use our voices in many, many ways. We can protest in many, many ways. Um, the one that's the most safest for you is the one that you should be exercising. And also, I mean, there's some crazy things happening. Even though they made the decision to vote this way, I just cannot stand seeing children snatched and separated from their children, from their parents. I just think that's the cruelest thing on earth. And so, if you can lend a hand or inform them that ICE is in a neighborhood, whatever it is that you can do, let's protect everybody in our communities because we're all vulnerable right now, and we want to make sure that our people and our children are not subjected to all this trauma and drama. And so, with that,
Exactly. So we want to say thanks to all of you who participated in this podcast today, whether silently or vocally. Some of you sent in messages, asked questions. Some of you quietly just watch and observe and nod your head and say, "Yeah, I agree with that." Or some of you probably say, "No, I don't agree with that." So, but next time you want to voice your concern, just tap into the show, type in your information so we can have a dialogue going back and forth. So we want to thank Crown Jewels, and we want to thank Mr. Edward Pratt IV as well for giving his feedback and his contributions to our podcast. Remember, our podcast is here every week, every Friday from 3 to 4:30. The hosts are Miss Crystal Mitchell, Coach Crystal Mitchell, and Coach Gilbert Buchanan. We're on every Friday, remember, and we're here to help you to understand what small business is about, the accesses, the reach, the bandwidth, how you can access opportunities, how you can access government contracts, and how you guys can come on this show as well and become a guest to talk about your product and services so the whole world can learn more about you and become more engaged with you. So, with that being said, my co-host,
we're out, guys.
We're going to go ahead and say, we're out. We'll see you next week.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.